All right, today we're talking about it. We've all seen the videos. You know the ones I'm referring to, the sled deck loading fail videos. Now, while it does perplex me a little bit why there's so many people that don't know how to load onto a sled deck properly, I guess it's not too surprising. So like a proud dad teaching his kid how to do anything in life, I'm going to assume you've never loaded a sled onto a sled deck before and teach you how to properly and safely load your snowmobile onto a sled deck. Of course, this video is brought to you by Marlon Sled Decks. This is their Explore Pro 2 model, and I've been running these decks for the past 5 seasons and absolutely love them. So first we're gonna start with step 1 and take out your ramp and properly set it up. Just make sure when you're hooking the ramp to the back of the deck that the safety pin is down as well. So the ramp does need to be flat to the ground. Now there is some situations where the ground will be a little bit uneven, where the ramp will be propped up on one side from the snow and have air under it on the other side with nothing holding it up. You definitely don't want to unload like that because you're going to put a lot of stress on the ramp, pushing all the weight towards that end and possibly bending your whole ramp. So what I'll typically do in that situation is try to push a bunch of snow underneath it, or if I can find a rock, or if I have a piece of wood in the back of my truck. I don't at the moment, but anything to help support that side of the ramp in order to keep the ramp as level as possible. One other thing you don't want to do with the ramp is putting it on top of a snowbank, basically making a bridge to the snowbank. The reason for that is that most ramps are obviously made of aluminum to keep them light, but they're not structurally made for something like that. Because when you have that point of contact up here, all the weight as you're going across the ramp is going to go to the middle and most likely bend the ramp. When it's angled like this, it just transfers all the weight to the bottom of the ramp. And now for the next step, obviously the sled is going to be off the sled deck since this is probably your first time ever loading onto a sled deck. So hocus pocus and 1, 2, 3. Now it's back there. So you want to position your sled a couple lengths back in order to give yourself enough speed and momentum to make it up the ramp without having to gas it too much on the way up, which, as we've seen, has led to some people having to call their insurance because they put a ski-sized dent in their buddy's roof. Now you'll just give it easy but steady throttle to get up the ramp as if you were boondocking, keeping one finger on the brake lever. Once your skis touch the deck's surface and the sled has started to level out, let off the throttle a little bit or completely depending on how fast you're going. Once you're at that point, it's just easing the sled forward until the ski tip just barely touches the headache rack and you're all done. Just don't forget to set your parking brake as well as put your super clamp on the front. So let's talk about a couple quick scenarios where you might have trouble getting up the ramp. One is where the ground is icy and you go to start up the ramp and the track just spins. Simply just back up a little further and give it a little bit more speed. Just remember to keep a finger on the brake to slow you down once the track is actually on the ramp. Another may be if you stop halfway up the ramp for some reason. You shouldn't need to back up, just ease into the throttle and let the sled pull itself up. The lugs on the track may slip a little bit at first, but eventually they should be able to grip the ramp and the sled should be able to easily pull itself up. A third scenario might be if you're parked in a line of trucks alongside the road and the truck behind you didn't give you enough room and you can't pull forward or anything. Just lift the sled in line with the ramp and ease it up like normal and you should be fine. Unless conditions are too icy in that case, then you may need to have a friend give you a quick ski pull up the ramp or find another spot to load the sled up. All right, so now let's fast forward. You've made it to the snow park, you've got parked, you've got your ramp set up, and now you're ready to unload the sled. Well, basically it's just the reverse of loading onto the sled deck. Literally. First thing you'll want to do is look at where your sled is sitting in regards to where it will come off the sled deck. If it looks crooked on the deck, which happens fairly often because of the bumpy and pothole-filled roads we sometimes have to drive on, you'll want to get it straight on the deck before backing down. I'll simply lift up the back of the track and push it over to one side or the other to get it straight. Then once you've got your ramp set, you've got your clamp taken off and remove the parking brake, start up the sled and hit reverse. It's happened to me a couple times where I'll start up the sled and forget to actually put it in reverse and start to move forward because I'm distracted or something like that. And I've also seen it happen to other people as well. So obviously just make sure that it's in reverse. So here's where unloading the sled and backing it down is actually different from loading it onto the sled deck. So what I was taught a few years ago in order to back down a little bit easier and safer was to actually not look behind me while I'm backing down the sled deck. You'll obviously want to look behind you first to make sure there's nothing behind you that you're going to hit, and also just double checking that the sled is in line with the ramp. But what you'll do is keep your body and your head facing forward and just looking down either at the skis or at your feet, since most sleds you can see down through the rails and see the sled deck and the ramp below you. The reason for this is that if you're looking backwards like this, your whole body is twisted, and that could inadvertently make you turn the handlebars a little bit, which obviously You don't want to do that because you don't want to go off the side of the sled deck. So it's kind of the same concept as look there, go there, but just a little bit different. I've loaded my sled onto a sled deck so many times that it's basically just second nature at this point. It's just something that you just kind of have to get used to. Now, while it does seem pretty counterintuitive to not look back while you're backing down the ramp, it's just going to help prevent you from hurting yourself or tipping the sled over and potentially embarrassing yourself in the parking lot. Now, as for walking up and down the sled deck ramp, I've seen it firsthand a couple times where people fall, and it actually happened to a buddy of mine a couple seasons ago out in McCall, Idaho, when he was walking down a different brand sled deck ramp. It's not too much of an issue with the design of the Marlon sled deck ramp, but walking up and down a sled deck ramp can be a little bit tricky at times, whether it's snow, ice, or rain, or it can happen even in the dry. The great thing about these Marlon sled deck ramps is that you have plenty of traction, both because of the wide super glides and the extra traction on the middle of the ramp. So whether you've got boots on or sneakers, you're gonna have plenty of confidence knowing that you can walk up and down your ramp with plenty of traction. I'll typically grab the back of the sled on the bumper just to make it a little bit easier and safer to get up and down the ramp. I've seen some people be a little bit intimidated, but once you've done it a couple times, you'll get used to it. So that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you learned how to properly and safely load your snowmobile onto a sled deck, and now you're not going to end up on the Snowmobile Fails Instagram or potential 2 million view fail video on YouTube. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload my next video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Too many thoughts in my mind every time that I go and I reminisce. I'm back in the game, I'm feeling this. The life I'm living got benefits. Now this shit, I want it. Still got that, I want it. Got a whole